Hey guys, today I want to do a comparison video. You may call this a versus video. So I'm comparing two of my favorite divers, and both of these sit in my collection, okay, as my two of my favorite divers. Okay, well, I only have two divers, so I want to do a comparison video. Okay guys, so in today's video we're gonna take a look at these two watches and they compare all the features, and then finally I'm gonna pick which in the end is going to be the winner from this battle. Okay, so in front of us we have two super divers, okay, and both are legendary. The first one is Blancpain Fathom, which is the first diver ever made, and it was made in 1953, I think, like few weeks or even a month before Submariner, Rolex Submariner was invented. So alright guys, let's get down to the comparison. So alright, so let's and then so we have Blancpain Fathoms, and then after that we have Rolex Sea. Okay, so both of these are basically they're the king of the sea. Alright guys, so today let's talk about many different aspects from these two watches and then compare them like side by side. Okay guys, so first let's talk about the proportion. Okay, so the proportion, in terms of proportion, so Blancpain is 45 millimeter with a thickness of 15.5 millimeter, but even though it's 45 millimeter, I have already reviewed this watch. If you want to go check out the in-depth review, you can check it out on my channel. I've already uploaded the video for that. Even though it's stated as 45 millimeter, but it actually wears small. It wears like 42.5 to 43 millimeters. So and so again, it wears small, and so for those of you who actually think about buying this one, you don't have to be worried about the size, because even though it's 45 millimeter, but it doesn't really wear like 45 millimeter. And then whereas with the Rolex, it's stated as 40 millimeter, but this one is false. Even though it's 40 millimeter, but I use a physical ruler, okay, the real ruler, and then I measure from one end of the bezel here to the other end of the bezel, and I got about 38 millimeter or so for the Sea Dweller. So the Sea Dweller, this one is pre-ceramic 16600, and this one wears smaller than, so it's the same like Blancpain. It wears smaller like than the size indicates. Okay, so it's stated as 40 mil, but it wears like 38 millimeter. And in terms of thickness, the thickness is I think it's about 14.5 millimeter. So I think in terms of proportion, I think both has good proportion, but I cannot deny that in terms of proportion, I would say Rolex wins. It's just more friendly on the wrist, for Rolex. You can be a big guy and then wear Rolex Sea Dweller. I think it will not look out of place. You can be a small guy like me and then wear Rolex Sea Dweller. I think it will look very beautiful on the small wrist like me. But then with the 50 fathoms, if let's say you're a small guy, it's gonna be harder to pull off. Even my wrist size, right, I don't really have a big wrist, and my wrist size is like borderline, for this 50 fathoms. I mean, if it gets smaller just a bit, if one day, let's say I'm losing weight, I think I will definitely not able to wear this watch, because it's gonna be too big. So in terms of proportion, at least for me, I would say Rolex wins. Okay, I think it's just easier to wear and to pull off. So that's basically it about the proportion. So I'm gonna give this to Rolex for proportion. And then the second one that I want to talk about, that I want to touch on, is the Lume. Now the Lume, because they are both divers watch, diver watch, normally they have a good Lume, because they have to, right? I mean, it's for the sailor to go into the water and they be able to see in the dark, because beneath the water, under the water is dark. It can get dark. Okay, so if you want to see the time under the water, then you need like a good Lume. So both of these they have good Lume, but let's check out the Lume. I'm gonna turn off the light so you can see it yourself. So as you can see, the Blancpain here I will say totally takes the cake. Okay, you can see even though Sea Dweller is no slouch either, it's very good. But you can see between the two, I will say Blancpain, kill the Rolex. Okay, so and not only that, I really love the fact that Blancpain apply the Lume on the all the Arabic numerals around the bezel. So I think it's very, very neat. All right, let's turn the light back on. So the Lume, I'm gonna give it to Blancpain. I think Blancpain wins. Okay, and then now let's move on to the next one. And now let's talk about the movement. The movement, Blancpain is equipped with the caliber 1315. It's basically a Frederick Piguet movement. It's an in-house movement by Blancpain. Okay, but it's based on the Frederick Piguet movement, and it's a very, very nice, nicely decorated movement, guys. Okay, even though it doesn't have open case back, but for what I've seen online, it's pretty nicely decorated. Okay, so it's not just like a bare naked like movement and you just stick in there. No. That's Rolex. Okay, Rolex, I mean, it's not decorated at all. Rolex never bothered to decorate the movement. They just care about the toughness of the movement, that they built a durable watch that will that's built to last. But the downside is that they never decorate the movement, so it's ugly. That's why even though you buy like the most expensive Rolex, like for example Daytona or the Day-Date, you will not see the movement because they just conceal it. Okay, they don't want to show the movement because it's ugly. So the Rolex is equipped with the movement, the 3135 caliber 3135 from Rolex. I will say in terms of movement, I will give it to Blancpain because it's more nicely decorated. The finishing is higher, and also this one has 120 hours, 5 days power reserve, and this one only has 2 days power reserve, 48 hours. So Blancpain takes the cake in terms of movement with a better finishing and the longer power reserve. Now let's talk about the accuracy. The accuracy, based on my experience, at least for these 2 copies, right? Blancpain, I time it. Okay, I time the accuracy. I get about 2 seconds in a day, so it gains 2 seconds in a day for Blancpain, and for Rolex Sea Dweller, it gains half a second. Can you imagine, guys? That's crazy. Half a second to 1 second. Okay, so I would say, at least based on my experience and based on these 2 copies that I have, I would say Rolex wins in terms of accuracy. I think Rolex 3135 is very, very accurate. I mean, a lot of people, this is a movement that is like time tested already, and I think with the Rolex you don't really have to worry about the accuracy, and the movement is just, it's strong and robust. Okay, so in terms of accuracy, I will give it to Rolex. And then now let's talk about the toughness. Now, guys, in terms of toughness, I would say that Blancpain is a tough watch. Okay, Blancpain 50 fathoms. Even though this is an expensive diver, but this is not a watch that you really have to babysit, baby around. This watch. I mean, you can really, you can really like do hard, vigorous activities with this watch. This is a tough sports watch. Okay, but I think when we compare these 2, right, I think in terms of toughness, even though this one is tough, but I would say I will give it to Rolex. Okay, because to be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to actually test it. I mean, test these 2 watches in terms of toughness, to the extreme limit, because if I do it, that means I'm ready to destroy this watch, right? I mean, these 2 watches, along the process. I will not do something like that, but based on the story, based on things that I've read off the internet, I can say that Rolex takes the cake on this one, because I've heard I've read the story where somebody got into an accident with a Rolex, and he was basically just he was basically like screwed. Okay, I think he broke his arms, and he was a mess. Basically, he was messed up. Okay, but his Rolex was just basically fine. So I mean, Rolex is to me, it's just it's amazing. Okay, and I have dropped this watch. I mean, personally, I will tell you a story. I have dropped this watch from the height of around 1 meter, and it's still ticking. It doesn't, it's fine. Nothing, nothing gets damaged. So and this one also has a deeper water resistance. This one can only go down to 300 meters, and this one can go down up to 4,000 feet or 1.2 kilometers, 1,200 meters. So it's like 4 times deeper than this watch. So I'm gonna give it to Rolex in terms of toughness. Now, last one. Let's talk about the dial, guys. So in terms of the dial, right? I mean, I'm gonna let's talk about the dial. So Blancpain has a very, very beautiful dial. You can see here like the 12936. It's very, very symmetrical. I really love that. And also the bezel, it's covered with the sapphire, whereas Rolex is just just plain aluminum bezel. Okay, nothing special. Okay, and Rolex has a date here at 3 o'clock, but Blancpain put the date between the 4 and the 5 hour marker there. So I think it looks more subtle. I really like it because the date doesn't ruin the symmetry of the watch, which I really, really like. Okay, so in terms of dial, I will give it to Blancpain because I think it's just a lot more beautiful than the Rolex. Okay, the Rolex is nice. Okay, it's simple, it's nice, it's elegant, but I'm gonna give it to Blancpain because the sapphire, the sapphire bezel itself already win the I think the watch already wins in terms of dial just based on the sapphire bezel alone. Okay, the Rolex is just aluminum bezel. This one has a sapphire bezel, which I think is just a lot more exclusive. I think this is the only divers in the market that has this kind of feature. And also I don't know if you can see it, but the dial is very complex because inside the dial itself there's an inner circle, and inside the inner circle it has a sunburst effect, which is, from what I understand, it's more difficult and more complex to produce. So I'm gonna give to Blancpain in terms of with regards to dial. Okay, so overall, guys, if based on this comparison of these two watches, these two King, which one would I pick to be my favorite? If I really have to pick one, I gotta be honest with you, I really love these two watches, and I really, really like Blancpain. I really, really like my Rolex Sea Dweller. Okay, and this is my first Rolex, matter of fact. But if I have to pick one winner, I think if I have to pick one to be my lifetime companion, I will pick the Rolex. Even though, spec-wise and technicality and the beauty of the watch, I will say Blancpain wins. But I will still take the Rolex Sea Dweller. And the reason is because, simple. And the reason is not because, I'm fanatic. I'm a Rolex fanatic. No, it's not because of that. And the reason is simple. It's because of the size. I have a small wrist size, guys. So my wrist size is about 6.2, 6.3 inches. And, as I get deeper and deeper into this hobby, right, I find out that I tend to like to wear a smaller watch. Okay, I think it sits better on my wrist. It's also more comfortable as I get through the day with that particular watch. So Blancpain, even though it's very beautiful, it's very gorgeous, it's also a lot more exclusive. I never see one in the wild. But after a while, if I wear it for like a long time, or sometimes if let's say I do type in the computer on the desk, it can get a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, so it's just more comfortable to use to wear like a smaller watch. So I think if I have to pick the watch that I have to use for my entire lifetime, I think I will take the Rolex just because of the size. I think because it fits my wrist better. I have only small wrists, like 6.5 inches wrist, 6.25, 6.5, around there. Blancpain is not, while Blancpain is not oversized, but it's still a big watch and it's harder for me to pull off, okay? But in terms of technicality and beauty, I will say Blancpain actually it's a lot more beautiful watch than Rolex, okay? It's just on the higher level. But I feel that for it's like you sometimes you like two girls. One is more beautiful, one is more intelligent, but at the end of the day, when you talk to those two girls, okay, you're gonna pick the one that is less beautiful, less smart, but then you feel like you have more chemistry. And in this case, I feel like I have more chemistry with Rolex Sea Dweller. I think I can wear it better due to my wrist size, okay? But I think if you have like a bigger wrist size, let's say you have 7 inches, 7.5 inches, or even 8 inches, okay, under extreme case, I think you will like the Blancpain better than the Rolex, okay? So for those of you who have a bigger wrist size, I think Blancpain is gonna be better. I think you will like Blancpain better. And but for me, I will take the Rolex because I have a smaller wrist size. All right, guys, so this is basically it, the comparison of these two of my favorite divers, okay? So the winner goes to the Rolex for me. Guys, if you like this video, if you like this comparison video, I just want to say, please go ahead and subscribe to this to my channel. I would really appreciate it if you can. And thank you so much for staying on until the end of this video and keep on watching until the end. Thank you so much. I really hope that this video is entertaining, informative, and educational at the same time. I really hope that if you it can really help you to understand better of about these two watches. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.